Welcome to FI 160, Personal Financial Planning. This is the project overview, and I'm your professor, Dr. Douglas Rice. This part of your project will project your financial plan through a spreadsheet so we can see how you tie your goals and your dreams into reality. Think about this process not as just doing the numbers, but providing a view of how life looks and feels when viewed in terms of numbers. Another way to look at it is you can change your life and the numbers will change, but it doesn't work the other way around. You can put any numbers you want in the spreadsheet, but if you don't actually go make the behavioral changes in your life to make those numbers actually occur, then your financial plan stays as a dream and doesn't turn into reality. So try to always remember that the numbers are reflecting your behavior, and the behavior is what's driving the financial plan, not just the numbers. Okay, let's look at how we're going to accomplish this. I've created several videos that you can use to walk you through step by step on how to create a financial planning spreadsheet. If you click on the link in your syllabus or on your course, you'll see a link to these YouTube videos. This is from a previous course, but they work just as well here. By clicking on the videos, you'll be taken to YouTube, and you'll see that we've walked you through all of the steps in the spreadsheet. You can see that there's quite a few videos here. The first 3 or 4, or 5 actually, are about the project spreadsheet. And then about item 5, we start with the adjustments to our spreadsheet. In this case, we've added an MBA for a student that wants to go get a graduate degree. Number 6 is a car, 7 is a wedding. Other project adjustments, number 8, marriage adjustments, cars, earning adjustments, etc. So we adjust for life events as they go forward, and this gives us a total of 14 or 15 different videos that were very short in nature, 14-15 minutes, but they'll show you how to adjust the spreadsheet. So let's go back to the spreadsheet. Oops, here we are. Make sure you watch at least through number 4. Next week we'll get to the rest. This first week, all you're going to try to do is to get the basics down on a spreadsheet without making too many adjustments, and be able to understand where the numbers are coming from and where they're going to. So the template has some example information on it. We'll replace it with yours, and you'll start making necessary adjustments going forward. So let's look at the template. This FP template is in Google Docs, or excuse me, in Excel. I can get it to you in Google Docs if you don't have access to Excel, but most people work in Excel. You can see it's a pretty standard spreadsheet. In this case, we start with income here at the top, and we have various versions of income and taxes that are going to be taken out of our income. And then we go through expenses. Here, let me make this bigger so everyone can see, just in case the video is too small. Income, gross income, 401k contribution. You might have a rental property at some point, etc. You can obviously change all these rows to match your own situation or your clients. Expenses, age, we put age and year in there so we have a frame of reference on the spreadsheet. Mortgage or rent, student loans, sell, etc., etc. We have lots of different expenses. Obviously, we all have lots of expenses. And then we have our cash flow total. It was positive. We want positive cash flow. That means that we are spending less than we bring in. That's definitely important over the long run. But in some cases, we do have negative cash flow. So don't be surprised if some of the months or some of the years have negative cash flow and we spent more than we brought in. Net worth. Now, this is your basic personal balance sheet. Net worth is your assets. And if you have assets that are appreciating in value, you would include houses or stocks or 401ks, things like that here. You would not really include cars and or other things that are going to depreciate in value and go down to zero. A car I wouldn't consider an asset, but you can create your own financial plan the way you want to do it. I wouldn't include a car, as it's not going to end up being something that I can rely on. And then you got your expenses. In this case, we just have mortgage. We didn't include other things, but you could have debt in here. You could have credit card debt or student loan debt, et cetera, et cetera. So remember the two differences, or the difference here is very important. The expenses are your payments. Your mortgage payment is here, but the debt you owe on the house is here. Mortgage total owed. So this is the house. In this case, the house value is 334. The equity in the house is, or the mortgage total is 208, and the equity in the house is the difference of 126, which is how much value you have in the house. So in the case of a mortgage where you have an expense, you're going to put the expense in your expenses, and you're going to put the net worth, or the liability and the asset value, into your balance sheet, and they're going to be in both places. And the videos don't worry if you didn't get that. The videos will explain it to you in far more detail. In addition to that, I also put inflation in here. I put inflation here for a couple of reasons. One is, over time, we lose track of how important inflation is. So we take inflation and we project it out throughout the entire financial plan. Everything's going to go up at a certain rate. I've given two examples here, 3 and 5%. Could be higher than that. Could be less than that in some years. But this will give you an idea of how much things are going up. The second column here feels like at 3%. If you have a net worth of, say, $126,000, well, 10 years from now, how does that $126,000 feel if prices have gone up at 3%? That's going to make a really big difference in your retirement planning. It's going to feel like, oh, I've got $1 million. Well, if you're young and you've got 40 years from now, I will guarantee you $1 million is not going to feel like very much 40 years from now. It felt a lot. In my life, 40 years ago, the $1 million mark was really, really high. I thought it was great. Right now, I don't think it's all that great. In 40 years from now, it definitely will not be what you're looking for. So when you think of inflation, it's very important to include that in your financial plan. So we've got our template. You're going to be adjusting that template with the numbers I put in there. Oh, it's also really important to be sure to use cell names in the calculations and not numbers. That way it's easy to change. Let me give you an example. Here in the cost of goods rising at 3%, I have a 3% number here, which is the number that is that could change as a variable. I have $1, which is where we're starting. And then the formula here, and I'll zoom in. Whoops, I can't zoom in here very easily. I don't know if you can see this, but the formula is this cell multiplied by this cell. 1 plus this cell, actually 1.03. And the reason we put the formula in there with this cell changing is because as I extrapolate this over time, if I want to change this to 4%, all I have to do is type in 4% and this number changes. And the example, let's go to the next example. This is an example of what you're really going to be doing. So this is a plan that's not just taken this year, but it's expanded this year all the way across until you're 95 years old. And so that's really easy to do if you set up the formulas, and you can just drag it across and everything multiplies across very easily, and then you just make adjustments in there. So it's very important that you set the formulas up correctly at the beginning, and the video will show you how to do that. So give you an example here in this formula. This person was single, and then this is 2023 and they were 27. In column E, they became married and they have dual incomes here. And then I color coded that so it'd be easier to see. And then they get a new job, and then they're pulling back, and then they're retired. So you can see over time that the different phases of their life have been pulled out, and they have numbers all the way across their life until they get to, how old are they at the end here? 94 years old in 2081. So this person is going to have expenses their whole life. They're going to have income their whole life, and they've got to live off their future amount of money they have. Which is apparently going to be quite large if they don't spend any between now and then. So that's a pretty awesome amount. But We haven't changed anything here. We've got one person that married, two incomes. Then we did another spreadsheet. This is the advantage of once you have one spreadsheet, it's really easy to change it for another one. So down here at the bottom, we have one kid not working. And then we have two kids not working. Then we have three kids not working for 7 years. And then we have three kids working. So we've got, it's hard to see in the video, I'm sure, but we have a base example with no kids. Then we have 1, 2, 3 kids, and then 3 kids with keeping your job the whole time. These are examples that are easy to do once you set up the original base case. And so that's where you're going to start with. You're going to start with this template. Let me get this up to you. You're going to start with this template with an income, your expenses, then you've got your assets and your liabilities, and you'll end up with your net worth, including housing equity, and that will tell you how much your net worth is in financial terms, and how you're spending your money, and how you're saving your money, and how you're getting a return on your money. So this is a very important factor in all of your financial planning, and it gives you a view, and as you can see, it gives you a full view of your entire financial life as you're projecting it right now. So this is a key to all financial planning. And although there's lots of computer programs that do all this stuff in the back, in the back of house, and then all of a sudden they just throw you numbers there. When you do this yourself and you can feel the numbers and know what they mean, your handle on financial planning is significantly greater than if there was a computer program doing this for you. So let's see, we talked about the cell names, the calculations, etc. They're easy to change, but make sure you use the cell names in the calculations, not just numbers. Don't multiply by 0.103, multiply by cell E63 that has 1.03 in it, and then you can change those variables easily. Okay, so a couple steps in the process. Be sure you understand how the numbers are being calculated and what goes into them. Add up all your expenses and then think to yourself, are all these expenses what I have? Are there going to be other expenses in the future? I should make space for those. Is this a realistic inflation rate? If you're still paying for school, that's fine. If you're thinking about paying for school for a child, 20 years from now, school could be significantly more expensive. So that inflation rate of whatever it costs today is going to cost more tomorrow. You need to be thinking about that in your calculation of that cost in the future. Another way to look at it, and this is good for anything in finance at all, if you see a number and you can't explain it to someone else, if you don't know what went into that number and you can't explain it, you don't understand it. So if someone says to you that here's how much money you'll have in 10 years, blah, 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 well, if you can't say that in 10 years at an 8% return, I will have $331,863.42 if I get that 8% return. But if I get a 6% return, I get $264,000, whatever else it is. If you can't explain it to someone and how those numbers were calculated, you really don't understand it. And if you don't understand it, you shouldn't be involved in it. So think really hard about, can you explain how the numbers were calculated in each one of these cells? And once you get it, once you do it a few times, it'll become very easy for you to go, oh, I know where this number comes from, and it'll just get easier and easier. So just get started. Let me know when you're stuck. I'm always available to you. You can text my cell phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I will help you with your spreadsheets. I will walk you through any problems that you have. Don't hesitate. It is not that hard. You have to work through one or two versions of this, and then you'll go, oh, I see. If I change this and all my numbers change, I can retire sooner if I don't spend this money now. And you would be surprised at how much impact time has on the ability of you to retire and save money and accumulate assets. Time is an incredible factor in all of this. Okay, so that is an overview of the process. Watch the videos, the first 4 of them, walk through the first spreadsheet and get it started, and then let me know what your questions are. If you don't get it all this week, we're going to keep working on it next week. You've got many weeks, months actually, to pull this all together at the end. So it's just time to get started and start working through this. And I hope you'll see the value in it. And most people do. They think it's incredibly important for their own personal lives as well as the ability to help others. Also, the videos that are on YouTube are public. So if you want to send them to family, friends, relatives, whoever you want, to get them moving towards their own financial plan, don't hesitate to do that. You're more than welcome to share them with anyone. Thank you so much.